Hello friends, welcome to the show. If this is your first time visiting our channel, we want to extend you a very warm welcome. If you've been here before but you have not subscribed, do subscribe. If it is your birthday, we want to extend you a very happy birthday. Today we're going to discuss one of my favorite shop tools, and that is a bandsaw. Now, bandsaws typically are more expensive than table saws and not as common in do-it-yourself workshops, but they are coming down in price, and in fact, what is that company? Works. Huh?
Is it Works?
I don't remember, that's why I'm asking what is the name. I have one of them here, so not a bandsaw. Work Zone.
Work Zone.
Huh?
Work Zone.
Work Zone. Has one, if you can find it, that is $99, and it's a very nice tabletop bandsaw with about the same cutting capacity as this Sears one. So today we're going to talk about Bandsaw 101. Bandsaws are very useful tools because first of all, the curve of the blade is substantially smaller than the curve of a blade on a table saw. Okay? As you can clearly see here, this is the table saw blade and this is the bandsaw blade. So you can clearly see that the bandsaw removes substantially less material, and if you're making small pieces, the bandsaw will provide substantially less waste. I don't know why I tend to repeat the same words. You need to stop me from doing that. That's your job. And shaking your head doesn't work because they cannot see.
Another job?
Another job, yes. Now there are a few things in maintaining your saw. Most bandsaws will have a table like this, and also some form of helping you keep the piece that you're cutting either perpendicular to the blade or at an angle. But usually they are not the best. I want to make an improvement on mine and create a better, what do you call that? A better bed. Also, virtually every saw will have some way of stop in the front, so when you change the blade comes out. And almost every saw, and ours does too, has a way to tilt the table. Even though, in all honesty, I've never used mine tilted. Have we?
Not yet.
So I'm not sure how. I mean, if I wanted to do a 45, I'd much rather do it on the table saw than the bandsaw. Now this is an old one, almost a vintage Craftsman, and it is what we call a direct drive saw. Most saws today, bandsaws, are not direct drive, but they're belt driven. And that makes them a little quieter and also allows them to have the same diameter wheels, or ours does not. Ours has a smaller wheel in the top, as it is clearly. When you look at the bottom and the top, this is much smaller than this.
You don't want to take the case off the shelf?
Yeah, but I want you to do it afterwards when we are done. Now, one of the things that you do want to do is to make sure that the blade is parallel to your table, not parallel, perpendicular to the table, at 90 degrees. Unfortunately, I don't have a square that's small enough to go there. As you can see, my square is a little too big. But as you can see here, this is perfect, and let's put it on the square here, and you can see that this is indeed square. And that's a piece of wood missing there, but it is square, right? Is it visible? So if you want a perfect cut, your blade has to be at the perfect 90 to your table. There are adjustments both on the top and underneath the table on the blade, and I don't know if you can show it. There is a bearing here that's supposed to just be behind the blade, not really touching the blade. So when you actually press the blade enough, I don't know if it is visible there, but then you touch the bearing and you can hear it, so you know that you are exerting a lot of pressure on your blade. And the blade is fairly tight, right? It has an amount of pressure, actual tension. Pressure, tension. We have removed the cover so you can see the saw, and again, as I said before, this specific saw has a different diameter top wheel than bottom wheel, and both wheels have something that's called a tire, which actually controls the blade itself, and you want your blade to ride on the crown of your tire, so, and it doesn't go off. Now, as you can also see, the only blade that gets really dirty in our saw is the bottom, because it's behind, not behind, it's under the cut place, but the top is relatively clean. And as you can see, it's keyed and it's directly connected to the motor. In this specific saw, the tension of the blade is controlled by this knob here, but different saws will have different ways of doing that, but every saw will have a way of doing it. Just look at your saw manual and see how it is done. Also, there are adjustments here, and they control the movement of the blade right and left. In other words, they don't allow the blade to travel because of pressure on the wood. I don't know if travel is the right way. They prevent the movement right and left of the blade, and also there is a similar arrangement underneath. Can you see it, or is there no light now? Okay. Most people will tell you that you don't want, and I definitely don't, the way I said my saw, you do not want your blade to be touching the bearing here, but be just in front of it. There is an adjustment in the rear for the bearing. If you want to come around here, you can probably see it. Can you see it? You might not give enough light.
Okay, got it.
There is enough light to see it?
Yeah.
Is it more visible now?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an adjustment that allows the bearing to move back and forward. You really do not want the bearing to be touching the blade at all times, but you want it just behind the blade. And because you have this mechanism here, it's a good practice to move the blade guard up and down depending on the size, the thickness of the stock you want to cut. That is more likely to allow the blade to make a cleaner cut. Now, two things here: never work on the saw when the saw is turned on or plugged in. What? We are bad. Peter reminded me that our saw was actually plugged in still. And even though I don't make adjustments, it is a very good practice when you have the covers off not to have the saw plugged. So after you make sure that your blade is 90 degrees to your table and that there is no dirt or pieces of wood. In fact, we had an experience in which a small piece of wood lodged itself. It was smaller than this. We couldn't see it, but it lodged itself in there and stopped the saw from operating. Potentially you can burn your motor if you do that.
It was down in there.
Yeah.
Really deep down into the saw.
I consider the bandsaw to be a safer tool than the table saw But always remember that safety is your responsibility. Other people can be comfortable doing certain things that you are not. Never do anything with any power tool that you are not comfortable doing. So what I do is not necessarily your comfort level. That's why I don't preach safety in my channel. Not because I don't believe in it, it is the opposite. Both me and Elpida really are very safety conscious, wouldn't you say? But the reality is that your skill level and your experience defines how you use the tool. When you first start using a tool, you need to be very, very careful. And you need to be aware of all the dangers around the tool. On the bandsaw, the main danger is here. This is the only part of the blade that you can possibly come in contact with. Because the other parts of the blade, you're not. We are considering, we have gone into a expedition of adjusting all our tools to easily plug in our vacuum cleaner, which is our main source of dust collection. And here we're using again a bicycle inner tube that we have put 2 times around, I think. And right now it is just, we're testing it, but I think it is a good fit, and we're going to use hot glue and permanently attach it. And we're going to...
Hot glue is hot, people.
Hot glue is hot, yeah. That will be in one of our merch. Merches? What is the plural of merch?
Well, since merch isn't actually a word, I don't know.
Well, everyone calls it merch.
Because everybody wants to shorten every single word in the English language.
Of course, now he doesn't want to do what I wanted to do.
Because you have to line it up. That's the only thing about this saw is when you take the case off, you really have to line it back up correctly, or it just does not want to go.
A lot of saws have doors, but they're different door for bottom and top.
You get the bottom one down there.
Yeah. Everything is buttoned
This
up.
is very, very particular in that you really have to line it up or it doesn't want to go back together.
And this is very, very old, but I really love it. I really enjoy using this saw. Don't you?
Yeah, it's nice. And Craftsman, of course, is a really known brand for being good quality.
Now, when you buy a saw, a bandsaw, again, because it will be a significant investment, you need to decide how big this opening, which is in the capacity of the saw. Because the only thing, if I have a complaint about the saw, the only complaint I will have is that sometimes we have stock that it is not, we are not able to cut with this saw because it is taller than this, right? Other than that, I think this saw has been proven to be fantastic. And like a table saw, it also has a fence, but again, like a table saw, you have to make sure that this is perfectly aligned before you tighten it. Otherwise, you're not going to have an even space cut. One of the neat things about the saw, though, is that you can safely make cuts that you cannot safely make on the table saw. Would you agree? And again, there are now in the market saws that they are cheaper. Craigslist might be a very good source, or pawn shops. We've bought tools in pawn shops. So you don't have to go out and buy a brand new one. If you want to save money, a used one, just make sure it works first. Turn it on and leave it run for a few moments and watch for the following things. Does it make any strange sounds? It should not. Keep in mind that ours, if you have heard it in our channel, is much louder than most modern saws because it's a direct drive. That's why it's louder. The ones that are belt driven are much quieter, almost as quiet as our bench press, which is also
Drill press.
drill press, bench press.
Bench press is something totally different.
Well,
It's
you
for
know.
lifting weights.
But our drill press is also belt driven, and you can very clearly hear the difference in sound. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So decide if being a little loud or a lot loud as this is does not bother you. You can find a very good, I think older saws were better built than newer ones. They have less plastic parts. These are nice and metal builds. But again, if now noise is a consideration, a belt driven one will be a better option for you and a better solution for you. The mic on?
No, this entire time we've been filming without the microphone.
All right, and the way you adjust it, by the way, on this one, because it's older, you need Allen wrenches, both for the right and left, and also for the rear. In newer saws, sometimes it can be a tool-less adjustment. Again, if you're buying your first one, decide what it is best for you, right? If you need a toolless adjustment, make sure that the saw you're buying has a toolless adjustment. If you're buying it used, a great idea is to ask the person that's selling it to show you how to do this, how to adjust the saw. Because a friend bought this for me, and really when I first got it, which was a couple of years from now, I had no clue how to do anything. I have to learn everything because it didn't come up with the manual. We finally end up finding the manual online when we had to change the tire. But before then we didn't even have the manual. We didn't know how to do a lot of things. So if you buy a used one and the manual doesn't come with it, the internet more than likely will provide you a good source for a manual. When you buy blades for your saw, there are two criteria. One of them is how long the blade is, and in this case it's 72 inches and 5/8. And the other is how wide the blade is, front to back. So this kind of saw actually can cut metals as well. There are metal cutting blades and wood cutting blades and general purpose blades. This blade, for example, could cut aluminum or aluminium, depending on how you pronounce it. But if I was to cut something, a heavier metal, I will have to change the blade. The more teeth the blade has, the finer the cut. As you can probably see in the sample again, that is a very fine cut. Is it visible or not? This is a very, very fine cut. There is no, what do you call it, chipping or anything like that. And it does the same good job even on plywood or any type of wood. Now, the disadvantage of a blade with the teeth being very close is that it is a slow blade. Sometimes it takes a significant amount of time to cut through a piece of wood, especially if it is very long. Blades that have this type of teeth, but they have less teeth, go through material faster, but they are more prone to have a less smooth cut. In fact, when I was cutting this for an example, I did that with the table, so not with the, I wanted to show this, but that would be wrong. Forget, erase, bloopers. So I think this covers most anything you might need to know about a bandsaw. Anything that I've forgotten? And again, you shaking your head behind the camera does not do anything for our viewers.
Now they see that I'm shaking my head.
Now you're giving them whiplash.
Well, they can tell I'm shaking my head.
But you're not, you're shaking the camera.
Same thing.
Same difference?
Yes.
Alright folks, I think this is our episode for today. If you enjoyed this short episode, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works as well. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know what you want to see in the channel. And Visit us again on the weekend for some form of woodworking video. From the Garage Wizard and Elpida, and from the Urban Homesteading channel, we bid you a great week.